Automation is only good if you have the data to back up the decisions of what you're automating. Being able to be creative and then also be a nerd with data and science at the same
embrace
exact
the
time.
nerdship.
Yep, effective.
It's so crazy to me. I
It's
hate that you say that because I know you're right. Yeah. A lot of businesses spend way too much time talking about stuff and not enough time actually doing it.
Right.
Okay, welcome back to the Roll with Steve podcast. This is episode 3, and I've got Nick Perkins here with me. You and I go way back.
Way
like
back.
15 years or something like that. You didn't have any hair back then either,
Nope.
and my hair was kind of like down here when that was going on. But it brings me back to those days at CBU. You studied marketing at CBU?
I studied religion.
Religion?
Yeah, I was going to be a pastor.
No
back in the day.
way.
Uh-huh.
Why did I
Before
not
made a
know this about
transition-
you?
Yeah, I was in the BAT program at CBU.
Is that right?
It was, yeah.
Okay. So now you're in marketing. Your whole career has been marketing. You got over a decade of experience that's there. And we'll dig into a lot of that too. We got to do a lightning round here because I want to get started with a couple of questions. These are simple, easy. If you want to pass, just pass. We'll go on to the next one here. So having been in marketing for over a decade now, what is the most rewarding thing about that career path?
Oh, man, it is being able to be creative and then also be a nerd with data and science at the same
You embrace
exact
the
time.
nerdship.
Yep, 100%. I embrace the nerdship. We get data in real time, whether it's an ad campaign, whether it's analytics on a website. We're able to take that information and build creative concepts to improve upon it. So it's a really great marriage
interesting.
between the two.
Do you feel like most marketers miss out on like the data side? 'Cause that's the first thing you mentioned was the data that comes in from it. And sometimes I meet people who are in marketing who is like, well, I do graphic design basically. Do you feel the same way about that?
We always need good graphic designers. We always need good video editors. We always need good creatives in the field, but it should always be predicated on the data that backs it up. So what is the decision that we're making and why are we making that? 9 times out of 10, there's going to be some kind of data that says, change your CTA to a certain color, change your CTA to a certain word, and you'll get better results. But the graphic design that goes on the landing page, the copy that goes on the landing page, the videos that go on the landing page are all predicated on that data.
Yeah. I just feel like there's a lot of people who are like following the old data. And I wonder who are the people that are driving that? Like who found out you should turn the text yellow on this CTA in order to get someone to engage? Who's the trailblazer? And then everyone else just does that. And then it becomes commoditized. You move on to the next thing. Like, is that your company? Is that the Digital Ring? That is the trailblazer?
I would love to say so. The Digital Ring is a full service marketing agency. We're very much a boutique agency, but we are full service. So we do graphic design, we'll do brand development, website. Obviously, we have paid media, SEO, anything you can think of, we will hop in and help a company grow. We're not trailblazers per se, but we definitely follow best practices. I would say Google, Salesforce, a lot of these big tech companies, they're the ones that are investing hundreds of millions of dollars into different shades of blue to see which blue is the clickiest.
Yeah.
There's a really good case study of Google doing this to find out which shade of blue they should make their links on the Google search results.
Wow. Okay, so if it's going to be a certain shade of blue that gets you to better sales from there, like that's intricate enough that that's not small marketing agencies. That's like these huge mega companies that are figuring that type of stuff out, and we all learn from them through these case studies. Okay, that brings up the next question I have, which is between SEO, website design, branding, advertising. What's your favorite thing inside of marketing in this full source marketing shop that you have, and why do you like that one the most?
I love customer journey mapping. It's looking at where customers are coming from, how they're finding your product or service, how they're interacting with your brand, and how they're taking the initiative to learn more. Whether it is download a PDF, whether it's purchase a product, whether it's sign up for a newsletter, there's some trigger or some catalyst that causes that action. And then once they become part of the ecosystem, how are you nurturing them throughout that entire journey to get them to convert? Are they buying a product? Are they buying a service? And so each one of these different tactics or strategies plays a part in the overall customer journey map. And that's the most fun. There's a ton of creativity in there.
You call it customer journey. If I called it a funnel, would that be the same thing?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Okay. And the funnels have been branded more so by the digital marketers, but customer journey's been around for a long time, right? And the study of that.
The funnel is the simplified version. You have awareness, you have consideration, you have the action. The customer journey map is how are they interacting with each of those stages within the funnel, and what strategies are you deploying at each of those stages. So you could have
Interesting.
paid media and SEO working at the same stage, but you could also have paid media at a further stage. It could be in the consideration stage.
That a lot of that, and I'm sure we'll hit into it today, is like, wow, there's levels to this game. Because I think marketing from the small business side of the house, I know that you work with a lot of larger companies, some of them that have marketing teams and some that don't. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. I'm doing these lightning round questions very slowly, but we'll keep on pushing through. What's your, anyone who's been in the industry as long as you have has a claim to fame. What's your claim to fame in marketing?
Off the record, there's a lot.
Okay. One that you can talk about on the record.
Ooh.
We'll do off the record when the cameras are turned off.
Ooh. I worked with one of the largest makeup brands. I worked with some large tech companies, and I've worked with some multi-level marketing companies. And the best thing about that is coming up with a plan, coming up with the strategy, deploying that strategy, and seeing the results. So in working with the largest makeup retailer in the United States and in the world, it's how do we go to market with the new products that we're launching, and what are the strategies that we're deploying on the paid ad side to get people to purchase?
Interesting. Do you feel like you're kind of industry agnostic in terms of your approach in marketing?
For sure. I think it's
that's
important to be
dangerous.
industry agnostic because there's this concept of cross-pollination where you're able to take tactics and strategies from one industry or from one company size and apply it to other companies. So there might be something that works really well in, we'll say, B2B SaaS that people aren't really thinking of how do we apply that to e-commerce or how do we apply that to B2C? And there's a lot of these value props. There's a lot of like download a PDF now that SaaS companies use that could be really, really important and really impactful on the B2C side.
Yeah. See, that's what I think is so cool about marketing in general and what you do. Because if you break down inside of those verticals, like inside of e-commerce or inside of B2B, it's not so, like it doesn't translate so much from one area to the next. Like what I know about the personal care space in e-commerce won't translate as much if I started a gift box company tomorrow. And a lot of those lessons learned are kind of lost. I have to relearn them. To your point, there's a little bit of it that I could translate through and say, okay, well, if this works, I know this will work too. But I feel like marketing is this umbrella over every single company that you can apply lessons learned in a steel company, in a paper company tomorrow, and then in a CPG company the day after that.
Absolutely.
It makes it so versatile that like you're a powerful person because of that, right?
You're asking the same questions regardless of what industry you're working in. Who is the target demographic? What is my ideal client profile look like? And what are the levers that I can pull to make them take an action?
Yeah. What's the thing that you're most opinionated about inside of marketing?
Automation.
Automation
is a hot topic. Everyone's throwing out AI like it's the new cool thing.
Yeah.
AI is super powerful. Don't get me wrong. I use ChatGPT every single day.
Yeah.
I use AI in multiple avenues of marketing. When it comes to Google and Facebook and running ads, they're stealing your money. I think that's the biggest thing. Google and Facebook are incentivized to get as much ad spend. So the easier they make it for maybe the less experienced marketers, the more money they're making. But it's a disservice to that company who's not leveraging all of the tools and letting Facebook run ads for them.
Yeah. So you're saying that there's other third parties that should be used along with Facebook and Google to run those ads? Or I want to make sure I get this part right. Facebook and Google are stealing from small businesses?
Facebook and Google are stealing from small businesses.
Okay, tell me more. Tell me more. Exactly how are they stealing from small? Because I'm about to go into this whole Facebook ad zone, and I want to know how they don't steal from me.
Yeah. So Google released a product called PMax. It's Performance Max. All you do is you type in your website, you give them a few assets, and you say, run ads for me. It leverages multiple inventory access. So you're going to be buying inventory on the search side, on YouTube, on their display network, all simultaneously. The reason why it works for small businesses is because they don't need to create separate campaigns with separate settings for each.
Okay.
The problem is those separate campaigns and those settings are where you're cutting out the competition. It's where you're getting more efficient. It's looking at the data at each level and making optimizations to improve your overall performance.
So only Google can see that stuff in between then if you're doing those campaigns in bulk?
It's a bit of a black box, so no one quite knows how it's working. You can't control where the inventory is being bought, But if you use the traditional media buying routes, you can say, I want this much budget allocated to search ads, this much budget allocated to YouTube, this much budget allocated to display. And then you can break it up by prospecting, retargeting, different audiences that you're targeting. PMax does it all inclusive.
Interesting. So for small businesses out there who are looking for that easier approach, it kind of comes at your own detriment, because with the ease comes no visibility to understand the customer journey in the ways that you as a marketer would want to understand it to make better decisions for that business. That's a great way for us to kind of swing in, because I feel like there's a lot of lessons to be learned for small businesses from the larger businesses and that larger framework of thinking that you do on a daily basis. But how does that help the company that is worth less than $1 million? That's just like, I just want to sell 80K a month. I want to find a way to get to 150 a month. And so I know there's a lot of lessons that are there that we can garner from those big companies, but it sounds like at a high level, that thing you're most opinionated about is small businesses maybe should be breaking down their campaigns into the granular level, even when they're spending $1,000 a day. Like, would that be a thing, or do they have to be at a certain level of ad spend for it to make sense for them to be thinking the way that you're thinking?
I think it's taking it one step further and saying, just because other companies are spending money on Google ads or Facebook ads, does that mean it's right for my company? If you have a limited amount of resources, time, money, and budget, it might not make sense to go the Google route. It might make more sense to deploy those resources on organic social. It might make more sense to look at SEO. I think starting with an audit is probably the best place any company, any small business can start.
Yeah.
It's reversing the traditional path of saying every other company is doing X, Y, Z. What's best for my company?
Yeah.
An audit will uncover that and prioritize it intrinsically.
That's an audit you would do with every client before you start working with them?
Every single client that we get, we always do an audit. We look at their...
How would you advise someone who's running that $1 million business? Can they self-audit themselves? Do you need to have a larger company that can come in and look at all this stuff and tell you what's there? Is there software or AI that can help you do that audit? Like, what about the little guys?
The little guys still need help. They need outside help. And it's very hard. So we talked about my background in religion and philosophy. I went to school for it. So I'm a very deep thinker. I'm a very big feeler. What that means is being able to take a look at my life and my choices from an outside perspective and really weigh in what my actions do and how it changes my life. If you take that same approach to a company, look at it as an overall organism, as opposed to every single tactic, strategy, myopically, you're going to get the answers. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone likes doing it. So third parties make it so much more efficient. They'll ask the questions that you don't quite know to ask yourself about your business to uncover the strategies that you need to be deploying.
Interesting. And there's third parties that are kind of at every level. Would this be the SMMA for the small businesses? I don't think I know what SMMA actually is, but I think of it as like, oh, we run your Facebook ads for you type of deal. I've always thought those are kind of scammy, because it's like, oh, you have an Amazon store or an SMMA agency. Like, which one are you in? Are those scammy? Is that what you're talking about? Or
there are different agencies that do different things. I think when it gets into you're only doing one specific thing, there's a whole slew of different agencies. You get the scammy agencies for SEO that's like buy backlinks. That's a scam. You'll get the scammy paid media agencies that say, oh, deploy PMax, use automated bidding on Facebook. That's scammy as well. They're a burn and turn type agency where they're trying to get as many clients as possible. And after 3 months, the company's not going to see results. So they're just going to churn.
Yeah.
That's their business model.
So it's like automation is kind of bad for you in a lot of ways in marketing.
Automation is only good if you have the data to back up the decisions of what you're automating. If you're relinquishing all control, that's when you start to lose out.
Can we make a GPT of you and then automate inside of small businesses? Like, is that
we can
a
license it out?
possibility?
Yeah, we'll license it out. TM.
We'll find a way to make that happen. So, look, I look at you, and I told this to you many times in the past. You're someone who could literally add value to any company that you put your time and effort into. Like, marketing is so powerful. I think Gary Vee is the one who said that the top salesman always wins, but the next 10 best sales guys will get beat by a decent marketer at that. So that makes you a very powerful person. I just want to start by digging into like the avatar of the companies that you generally work with, just so we can define like the ball game here. Because I come from a world where it's lower middle market, so $50 million a year and less in revenue. Most companies that are in that frame of mind don't really have a full-time marketing person that's there with them. So what's the avatar of the businesses that say you would work with at the Digital Ring? Can you give us an idea in terms of like headcount, revenues, like what that would look like?
Yeah, when we started about 8 years ago in the Madison, Wisconsin area, we were working with the small local mom and pop shops. Someone may be an insurance broker, there may be a small construction company, and we took them on as clients. We built them websites, we did a little bit of SEO to help them with their local rankings. And a lot of those companies have grown with us. So over 8 years, they're still with us and they've grown tremendously. As we've matured as an agency, we're looking at more of the mid-sized businesses. So 50 million to 500 million is our ideal client profile. Those businesses typically are about 3% of their overall revenue going towards marketing. They have a small marketing team that's really stretched thin. They know what they need to be doing, but they don't have the resources to do it. That's when they look at an agency like us and say, oh, the Digital Ring, they know email marketing, they know automation, they know paid media. Let's have them come in and really help us transform our marketing initiatives.
It's such a value add to have like experts come in certain things in the business. Like I've noticed in mine that in almost every aspect except for advertising and marketing, it's better if I do it first and know how to do it and then train someone on the team to go and do that. Logistics, operations, all of that. But with marketing, it's like such a dynamic atmosphere that unless you're doing it all day, every day, as fast as things are changing, whether it's Amazon, Google, Facebook, or the plethora that you do, it changes too fast for anyone who has a day job to focus on the actual marketing. Like you need experts like that, right? And generally it's not inside the company.
Well, you're a unicorn when it comes to business owners. Not many business owners want to get their hands dirty and start pulling levers, doing things that a normal layperson would do. And that builds so much foundational knowledge. And again, going back to the idea of cross-pollination, that foundational knowledge of knowing which questions to ask, knowing which levers to pull can be applied to any part of that business, whether it's operations or accounting. So it's thinking like a business owner, which I think is super important. And at the Digital Ring, almost all of our employees are either entrepreneurs, they've been in agencies before, they've done, or they have side hustles. And that allows them to think as a business owner and make really great campaigns for our clients.
Yeah. Do you guys have a hard time as you're onboarding new clients and doing your own marketing? I'll long-wind this question and give you more context here, because I feel like a lot of times in marketing, like with a billboard, you know, how do you quantify what you got from the billboard? It's always a question there. But if sales go up, like don't hit the billboard down. Like I've always been stuck in the mindset of I do something new in marketing and sales go up and now I'm stuck in that. Even though I don't think it has anything to do with the actual impact that we're seeing in the business, I have to continue doing that from now on. To that end, do you feel like as you're talking with new clients and bringing them on board that they see the value of what marketing can do for their business in that $50 to $500 million profile? Or are they very much in the mindset of like, well, we have a marketing team, you know, like they're doing stuff, like we're fine.
Yeah, any client that is reaching out to us knows that they need marketing. They know that they have an end goal in mind. They have KPIs for their business of how they want to grow. And they've taken that step to say, let's enlist the power of an agency to do a lot of the marketing that we can't do ourselves. Where it gets difficult is after we work with them for, we'll say 2 years, they're growing like crazy. They're like, oh, we did this all by ourselves. We don't need a marketing agency.
Yeah.
So the challenge is continually providing value at every single stage and acting as if we are an employee, because that's where we build strong relationships.
I think that churn that happens a couple years in when you're getting results for them, that's one thing I find very interesting, because I'm kind of the opposite of that, where it's like I can never leave you because things are going well and I don't know if it's you or somebody else that's making it happen. And it can be hard to quantify sometimes. I was doing a little bit of research this morning on ChatGPT because I love automation. And I was struck by there's 8 million businesses in America today. And 75% of those businesses have less than 20 people that work with the business. 50% of them have less than 5 people that work in the business. And so it hit me that, okay, if it's less than 5 people, there's definitely not a marketing person in that company. But less than 20 people, like odds are, maybe you got somebody who's part-time who's doing it. Is this why there's so many marketing agencies that exist that are flourishing? Because you've got really maybe only 25% of businesses that are even large enough to even have a marketing person on the payroll.
I think so. I think that's why we do such a good job with the clients that we have. We've built so much rapport with them over time. Why we've had such a strong tenure with all of our clients is for them, they can go out and hire an SEO manager or a paid media expert. They can hire someone to do all of their email marketing for them. And each one of these specific roles has a headcount cost. On top of the headcount cost, you have insurance, you have taxes, you have everything that comes along with hiring someone in-house. It's so much more efficient to use a marketing agency holistically looking at your marketing initiatives than it is to hire all of these different people.
Yeah.
So if their company has 20 headcount, use an agency. It's going to be way more efficient than trying to find the right person across all these different roles.
But even the big companies, I looked at maybe 0.5% of companies. So I guess we're talking about, what would that be? 40,000 companies have more than 500 people inside of them. But I don't know this to be the case. I bet you Pepsi, Coke, all the rest of them have outside marketing agencies that work with their huge marketing teams too. Why is that? Is it the in-house team just can't be as creative? When you're as big as Coke and Pepsi, like why aren't they making those commercials in-house at that point?
It's a great question. It comes back to that cross-pollination. Agencies are specifically designed to work with multiple companies across multiple sectors of various sizes. And so when they find something that might work in one, they can apply those learnings to inform and inspire campaigns in other organizations.
Yeah.
So what that looks like is maybe the agency who's working with Nike or Coca-Cola has done some really cool work for a tech company. They might think through things a little bit differently and challenge Nike or Coke to say, what if we did this? It's that challenging that I think some people are afraid to do internally because their job's at stake.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of things in life when it comes to work myself out of a job. At what point is a business large enough? Well, let me ask it this way. As I grow my businesses, let's say one gets to 100 million in revenue. At what point does it make sense to not use an agency and to start building that in-house team or to augment the agency with the in-house team? Like, where do you see companies start to make those marketing hires where it makes sense to you?
It's across the board. I don't think I have a right answer for that because there will always be third-party counsel, whether it's a marketing agency, whether it's a consultancy. There's always going to be some outside perspective coming in to help transform what's not working or what could work better.
Yeah, that's true about a lot in business, especially on the consulting side, where the consultant's not looking at it emotionally the way that, that you are in the business.
Right.
Should we do a layoff? The consultant's like, yep. You're like, but we need, okay. So what's the biggest misconception that you see in small business owners that they think about marketing? Like, where are they viewing marketing wrong that they need to be educated on?
A lot of small businesses that come to us really expect results instantaneously. They say, if we give you $100 for this campaign, we're going to change our sales trajectory. That's just not the case. It takes time to deploy ads. It takes time to deploy campaigns. It takes time to deploy all the different strategies. And then it takes time for the learnings to come in. Once you get enough data, you can make data-driven decisions with statistical significance that's really going to optimize that campaign and get the results that they're expecting. But it's that mindset of, oh, I have this marketing agency. I should be seeing sales roll in nonstop.
Yeah. When should they expect that ROI to play out? Like, what's the accurate timeline if someone starts working with a marketer for the first time in their business and they're like, I'd like to see an ROI on this? And your answer to be, okay, like check back in 3 years. That's when you're going to see the ROI. Like, what would you say to that person?
Yeah, it's different company to company. And I know it's such a bullshit answer, but it really does depend. If a company is selling, we'll say, SaaS services and that product costs $100,000 a year, the company might not see an ROI on that $100,000 investment for 4 years. But after 4 years, it's going to continue to compound on itself and be a net positive. For smaller CPG, it comes down to instantaneous results. At what point are you willing to, at what point is that threshold going to be crossed when you're seeing a positive return on your ad spend or positive return on your marketing initiatives?
And as you get started with advertising campaigns, especially you mentioned CPG, and that's near and dear to my heart. I think a lot of companies know inside CPG that we're playing for repeat business month after month, year after year. Do you see a commensurate willingness to lose money on initial sales inside those companies that have that understanding, where they're willing to make the investment on the front end that you advise them to?
I think the big thing is every small company is strapped for cash and they're strapped for time and resources. So with that, a lot of these small companies will spend so much time in meetings deliberating back and forth about what campaigns they should run, where they should invest their dollars. And what they're not understanding is that this is time and resource wasted. They're wasting their time and their employees' time talking about things where if they just took that gamble, they just took that risk, they'd see immediate payoff. And if they didn't, they would learn and know what not to do next time.
Yeah. A lot of businesses spend way too much time talking about stuff and not enough time actually doing it.
Right.
That's true in the government too when I spent time in there.
Right.
What's an emerging market trend right now or market tool that you think all small businesses should jump on right now?
Every single small business needs a CRM. With the advent of going cookieless and Google saying, we're not going to give you all of this data on the users, it's really important to deploy a system that collects first-party data and allows you to market to your consumer on your own terms. So investing in a platform like HubSpot is a really great way to build your client list, understand what they're doing on your website, and understand what value props you're going to market with are causing them to convert.
It's interesting that you say CRM because that's not what I would have expected. I would have expected something to do with AI, but these CRMs, like this is a little bit lost on me okay, why the CRM for like an e-commerce company getting started? Like they need a CRM. At what point? Like 10,000 a month in revenue, you should have a CRM. You should be ready to go with that.
Day one. Day one, you need a CRM.
Wow. Help me understand this a little bit more because when it comes to the CRM in like a small business, like Tiny, we're about to talk about Monopoly Skin. It has done $1,000 in sales so far. We literally haven't opened up the doors. No one knows it exists. Help me understand in my thick brain skull of why the CRM is a tool to use like today.
CRMs are dirt cheap to get started. In some instances, it's free. So HubSpot offers free services for small companies. And it's really just a platform for you to build your existing client base. So if you have people who are purchasing products, how are you going to nurture them down the funnel to make them turn into repeat customers? How do you turn them into advocates? A CRM is the main platform to do so and host all of your marketing data to make data-driven decisions.
Interesting. So if you say HubSpot and I say something like ClickFunnels is basically just a CRM that the funnels live inside of that we're working with, right? So HubSpot's
Correct.
kind of the same thing there.
Kind of the same thing. It's a little bit more robust and allows to scale up a ton. Like
Okay.
there's so much scalability within HubSpot.
Yeah. See, this is one of the mistakes I think I've made in my businesses over the years. Number one, the over-reliance on Amazon. But number two, I hope I've had tens of thousands or 100,000 customers that have come to my actual brand website, direct to consumer, over the years. I have not captured a single email of that traffic. And I'm ashamed of it to this day because I think about, I have no way to talk to my customers except by going through a third party, Amazon, Walmart, Costco, Target. That's how I can talk to them. And that's a problem that could easily have been solved at any point. And I'm still not taking steps on it today. Yeah. Am I the average small business owner who's doing the exact same thing?
Yes, everyone does it, which is why it's the number one recommendation. Get a CRM as stage one. Stage two, develop your marketing program, get some sales. But that CRM is going to be working in the background, collecting all of this information that's actionable downstream.
Yeah. Does it need someone who knows marketing to kind of understand that data inside of HubSpot and then help the business owner make decisions off of it? Or can they get wise on it on their own?
Eventually, yeah. Eventually, you'll need someone to decipher all of the data. But from the get-go, you can just have it be collecting it in the background. It's very similar to Google Analytics. Every single company has GA installed. Whether or not they're using it doesn't really matter unless they want to grow and want to scale and want to grow from an informed perspective. HubSpot is the same, or CRMs are the same.
Okay. No, I like it. Let's shift a little bit. I want to show you one of the businesses that I'm invested in. And I can't pass up the chance for a CMO to take a look at this because I'm going to show you the website for Monopoly Skin, which is I can't imagine a more commoditized space to be launching a company in 2024 than skincare, right? That being said, the dreams I have for the Monopoly brand name is not just skincare. I think that it can very easily be so much more than that, a true lifestyle brand. And I want to make decisions today that actually move us in that direction so that we're already cultivating that this brand is not just we have the best skincare. I think our products are great, but someone else would have a different opinion in their marketing of theirs being better than ours. Again, it's super commoditized. It's such a competitive space to be in. I just want to show you this website because we just put this together. This was built, I think, maybe on ClickFunnels or maybe it was built on Shopify. It's a separate brand website from the actual Shopify store, which you can hit from the shop now. It's only got 4 products today. We've done a soft launch and we did a launch party. The launch party, the whole goal was just to capture footage and for us to be able to use in the marketing going forward to really exemplify this is the feeling of Monopoly. This is what Monopoly is all about. We gave everyone at the party a bunch of free skincare, like $200 worth of skincare. I have some for you, by the way. It's at my house. I didn't bring it with me. So when you come back from Chicago, we'll make that happen. But the whole point was to just grab content because my thought process was brand awareness is what stands between a company and success. If you have a super commoditized market, everyone has great products, it's why do they choose our brand and do they even know that our brand exists in the first place? We're probably in the category right now where no one knows that we exist. My thought was Facebook ads. I know Amazon ads can get us there, but we're also positioning in the mid-tier luxury space. So I don't want to be competing with CeraVe, a drugstore. This needs to be higher field. We put that into the product. It's a luxury product, but how do we actually capture the essence of that and do both things where we have a high-end skincare line and we're actually capturing the essence of the brand to build this into so much more 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. So your initial thoughts with that being the context on the website that we've put together with our small team, in-house, no agencies yet, tear it apart. Do your worst, sir.
Oh, man. There's nothing really to tear apart. I think you brought up a lot of interesting points and a lot of things that I would challenge you on. The first being brand awareness. Brand awareness is fantastic, but what about the brand is driving awareness? A lot of the companies that start off really young say, I want to be the next Nike. I want to be the next Apple. I want to have those same design aesthetics. I want people to be aware of my brand and be a household name. That's not going to happen. These companies have invested billions of dollars over decades to build that brand awareness, and they're Goliaths. Over time, that brand has also changed and developed and grown organically. So in a highly commoditized sector, we deal with this at the agency all the time.
Yeah.
Anyone can run ads. Anyone can build a website. So what separates us from the competitors? It really comes down to customer service. Like we as people, I would say, are better than the next agency. And when it comes to this, I see a lot of things that I really like. The splash page is fine, but the first thing you see when you scroll down is that personality that comes out, and that motif is replicated as you go back to the Our Story section and see more of the personality behind who is this brand for, and who should be buying the product. One thing that I think is overdone in a lot of skincare is doing the same value props over and over and over again. It's going to make you have healthier skin, look younger, feel better, et cetera, et cetera. Duh. All skincare should do that. Like if it's not doing it, why are you buying it?
Good product, right?
But why is it working for me as the end user? And that end user is who you have to niche down into and find, all right, we could be females 18 to 34. They could be making household income of X, Y, or Z. They could be living in a certain geopolitical center or a certain geography. And how do you find that niche and really sell directly to them? Once you find the niche, you can expand outwards in concentric circles and then launch either different products or launch a different approach to the same product that might expand your horizons with your user base.
Yeah. So if we're going after like the boss babe community, the working girl, single, dating, not really married yet, but kind of living that that lifestyle, going out on the weekends, brunch on Saturdays. Got to have brunch. You know, I've never been invited to brunch, but they have to have brunch.
We'll do brunch.
Like, okay, so if that's the avatar that we're going for, we're thinking, okay, this is probably six-figure or around six-figure type earner right there. So from a price standpoint, like we're certainly hitting that. My question specifically is, okay, yes, Nike brand awareness, that ain't happening anytime soon. But there have been some very successful direct-to-consumer launches where there was just true resonation with the brand. Like, what does that mean? Like, how do people capture that? Because then when you resonate with the brand, you're a user of the brand. Now efficacy comes into play, but you're telling people about what you have, because it's not just the product, but it's the community. Is it the association with the brand? Like right now, the big winners are Selena Gomez has Rare Beauty. You've got Hailey Bieber with her skincare line. So we know celebrity tied to great products is a winning formula. Is that what brand awareness really is and brand really is? It's just taking someone who's famous and applying it to products that work to make that cohesion into a company that everyone knows about?
Yeah, I think it toes the line of the psychological concept of people want something that is relatable, but also aspirational. So it is the Selena Gomez. She's somewhat relatable. People can look at her and say, oh, she's just like me. She could be my friend if I met her in the real world. But there's also this level of aspiration behind it. She is objectively attractive. She's very successful. And so maybe if I buy this product, I could be like her. The other thing to think through is what products are people buying reflect them as an individual. People who drive Teslas are like, I am a Tesla driver. People who drive Porsches are like, I'm a Porsche driver. And it's this small niche community that they build based on the products that they consume that allows them to signal to other people, this is who I am, this is what I'm about. So if you can build that community around certain ethos or values or even style, that's where we're going to find a lot of success.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got this value and ethos, I think, of, be your own monopoly. Like there's no competition. Going against the modern versions of what beauty is, the perfect, flawless makeup, the skin, like no blemishes whatsoever at all. The creator that I've partnered with for this is very into the no filters. If I've got a pimple, you're going to see it, like, because I'm real and I'm a real person and you deal with this stuff too. But part of being your own monopoly is having that confidence to know that, like, my confidence can really hide all blemishes that I have because I'm me and I'm not competing against you. I'm with myself. How do we deliver that message in the brand? Is that part of the website? Is that a series of brand awareness or marketing campaigns where it's not trying to sell something? It's just, this is what we're about. Like, how would you think and advise us to go about that strategy?
I think testimonials is the way to go. I think it's a visual representation of what the ethos are of the brand. And you can have these people talk about how they interact with life on a daily basis. Maybe they have a meeting that they were a little nervous about, but they used Monopoly skincare and they were confident in their own skin. They had a successful business call. They sold a deal. They went out to brunch with their friends and they had a ton of fun. Showing these snapshots of life, of who the core demographic is, will reflect back to who you want to sell to.
Interesting. Do you think leaning more into the insecurities in the marketing, like some of the things that come to mind for me is, you're the boss babe. You've got a presentation that day. You wake up, you got a zit right here in your forehead, and it's like the marketing shows you going to work, and you hear the voice inside the person's head. It's kind of like everybody's looking at your forehead. No one's looking at you, right? And somehow having this like triumphant moment of like, I'm my own monopoly. There is no competition. Like, is that kind of a way that you would go about delivering that message over a social media campaign? Because we're not talking to all of these people, right? This is direct to consumer. So they're meeting us online. They're engaging with us online. The community isn't there just yet. Like, how would you go about, or is that a right way for us to go about that kind of marketing?
Yeah, don't get me wrong, that works. When you play on people's insecurities, that is a huge driver of why people purchase products. They don't want to be perceived as X, Y, or Z. And so they purchase to overcompensate or to cover up what those insecurities might be. While it works in some industries for some companies, it's very, very difficult for me and for the agency that I work at to make that recommendation. I think if you focus on the positive aspects of what the product brings, that's where we're going to find that true like resonation with your target demographic.
Yeah. I'll take that off your hands here, but I want to ask you about, just the thought process of taking this brand that starts with skincare, and I can just see it being so much more if we're able to adequately create this brand that does resonate with people. You mentioned the word community. What does that mean for a CPG company that wants to be more? What does that look like to build a community around a product?
I think it comes down to lifestyle. One of the large makeup brands that I ran ads for was all about challenging the status quo of what your makeup could look like. And it became a huge trend on social media of people doing their makeup a certain way to reflect almost this counterculture of behavior. And it started off very grassroots, very counterculture, but over time it became the industry standard for how you do your makeup. And I think that's the path of growth. We see the same thing with Crocs. It's something that's kind of this goofy shoe. It's very utilitarian, but that goofy shoe turned into a huge success. They went IPO and made a shit ton of money because they started with very niche communities and expanded outwards.
Yeah. My wife was wearing Crocs this morning, and she was telling me how comfortable they are. She bought some for me, and I'm like, I don't want to wear Crocs. It's not for me. I put them on, and I was like, I get it. Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah. Let me ask you, because we're having this issue right now as we're trying to think about the launch strategy. So we've had the party. We're now making all of this marketing material to kind of go out to really, I call it funding the funnel. So having the 70 pieces of creative so we can start A/B testing, figuring out what works and what doesn't work. But right now, this whole idea of the influencer marketing versus brand marketing and which one is better. And I'm sure you have an opinion on this, but just for context, I had a gentleman on the podcast about a week ago, and he's a young entrepreneur. He's hundreds of thousands of dollars a month of lip balm. I call him the lip balm king. Like, it's phenomenal what he's done. But part of his story is that what put him on the map was an influencer posted him. He's a black guy during the George Floyd era and the Black Lives Matter movement. It was like, hey, go support this young man's business. And he did $10,000 in sales overnight. He's got a repeat purchase product. So like, you know how much that helps out when you're selling lip balm, you sell that many units. But he goes, then it dried up. And I realized if I didn't build my own brand marketing and have a platform that was equal to that person's that gave me all that traffic, I was always going to have this feast or famine of like, hey, somebody posted me, it worked, and then no one's posting me right now. Or the ones who are posting me have posted 100 other brands and no one's coming to buy my brand anymore from it. So one of the concerns that I have right now as we think about the launch strategy is an over-reliance on influencers who already have 1 million followers and saying our growth strategy is giving these people the product, praying to God that they love it and that they post about it in their story or an actual post, or we pay them to do that. And that's our whole brand awareness strategy. Like, it doesn't sit well with me as someone who has other businesses where I own the entire advertising and marketing ecosystem so that we know it can be repeatable and done time and time again. What are your thoughts on influencer versus brand marketing, on which one is better?
Influencer marketing is so diluted. It worked 5 years ago. It worked 10 years ago. It's always kind of worked. But with the advent of instantaneous posting, live streaming, so many different influencers, both macro, micro, across multiple industries, there's just too much noise out there for it really to be effective. The other thing is influencers aren't incentivized to sell your product. They're incentivized to post content about it. So when working with clients and they ask the question, should we work with influencers? We always flip the question of, what are your expectations for them posting? How many sales do you expect to get? They ask us the same thing. It's this kind of catch-22. It's like those old memes or those old cartoons where you have two cowboys just pointing guns at each other, like, or even the Spider-Man meme. You have to incentivize the influencer to push your product in a way that makes them want to do it and makes them maybe financially or politically increase in their status. So structures that we've seen work really well for clients in the past is incentivizing the influencer by saying, we will give you 10% commission on every single product that has your promo code on it. And instead of it being a one-time post or a two-time post, whether it's a story or on their actual feed, it becomes this ongoing thing because they start seeing their commission checks grow. And it's an all parties win situation.
Yeah.
So it's reframing pay to play into pay to partner.
What do you think about the strategy of people that say, I'm just going to put it on TikTok Shop and I'll accept any creator that wants to make a video about it. I'll make sure I approve the videos before they post them. But let me just get mass scale, 10,000 influencers posting. Like, is that like spray and pray strategy effective?
It's very, very much effective.
It's so crazy to me. I hate that you say that because I know you're right.
It's like if you, in the olden days, they had the home shopping network and then you turn the TV on, they were selling knives, they were selling just whatever crap. If you're to watch that one time, you're probably not going to buy. Some people will. But if every single time you turn on the TV and you see the same set of knives, the same like value props of how sharp they are, how great they are, how much time they save, how safe they are, you're going to purchase.
Yeah.
And the same thing for TikTok Shop. It's done that exponentially to where every time you load up TikTok, you're scrolling through your feed and you get that TikTok Shop promo of someone saying, try these gummies. They're so great for my skin. They're so great for my hair growth.
Yeah.
Eventually going to buy them.
Okay, I see how it works when there's a few people that are doing it and you have them reaching out to hundreds of influencers. What I'm struggling with now is that I'm seeing gurus posting courses on how to build a brand on TikTok Shop. And at every other point of my career in e-commerce, the moment the gurus start telling it to the masses of this is the easiest way to fill in the blank, that was the beginning of the end of the cycle of that thing working. And it was the sign of it may not be oversaturated right now, but given 3 to 6 months down the line, it will be. I feel like that's what's happening with TikTok Shop right now. That's why I hate the idea of that. Is it still working? But it only works for some brands now, right? Because now you have tens of thousands of products going to tens of thousands of influencers and everyone's posting the same stuff. And doesn't that influencer lose credibility over time? Like one day they're pushing this skincare line, the next day they push the next one. So, well, which one do you use? Because you can't use them all, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you've talked about this in the past of there have been waves of e-commerce, and thankfully you rode the very early wave and became super successful because of it. And then over time, you see all these influencers selling courses on how to make $1 million a month on Amazon ads or using Amazon. It just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
There's so much more grit and sophistication that gets put into it. I think you're right. The more you start seeing these scammy people selling courses, that's an indicator the market has been flooded, and you have to reinvent your marketing strategies to cut through the noise.
Yeah. It's like going back in time. Do we go back to mailers now that everyone's on TikTok Shop?
Yeah.
Newspaper ads, billboards,
we have a client we're talking about physical mailers, and they do tile and they do cabinets. And so we're like, what if we just sent them a tile like sample and just say, hey, we sent you a rock in the mail.
Yeah.
Like it's cutting through the noise because no one does that anymore.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different, but.
Well, I like different because I have this good investor buddy of mine who's here in Vegas, and we talked about this brand in particular, but just in general, the reason he doesn't like CPG is because he feels like these super commoditized areas that are super competitive, even if you're successful, it's a line up and then a churn all the way back down. Now, you might make $20 million in that up and down, but we talked about Nike earlier. We come back to CPG. There are brands that have stood the test of time that went up and then plateaued and stayed there. The L'Oreals, the Neutrogenas. In your mind, as a marketer, what separates the Neutrogenas and L'Oreals that have staying power from the other brands that just kind of go up and then they sputter out. What is it that makes them so special?
I think it's the reinvention of themselves. They're all selling the same product. If you take Apple, they're selling the same phone. The iPhone 16 is really not that different from previous generations, but it comes in different colors. It has an extra button. Maybe the performance is 10% better. Could they do 20% better? Could they do 50% better? Probably. Nike, the same thing. They're coming up with these retro shoes that existed in the 90s in a new colorway, and people will buy the crap out of them.
Yeah.
It's reinventing the same product over and over and over again with different value props to get your existing customer base to continue purchase. They still have those new products that they will always invent to test the market, whether it's Apple with their Vision Pro, whether it's Nike with their wearables. And that's how they test the market for maybe it's time for us to expand. Maybe it's time for us to like try a different avenue. If it works, fantastic. They can go down that path. If not, keep selling those shoes, keep selling those iPhones.
Yeah. It just feels like to me there's the longevity of marketing of those brands where even like Neutrogena's sense, I haven't seen a Neutrogena commercial in years. But when they sold a decade ago, they sold for like $1 or $2 billion. I saw commercials for them back then, but it seems that the ones that end up making it long term kind of get bought by big business, big private equity that continues to pump the marketing into those brands over time. And there's something to be said for 40 years of people seeing commercials for Nike or any other big brand too, where, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's a household name. But in the absence of those brands being acquired by deep pockets that can get them into every store that means something to that brand, would they be kind of destined to do the same thing where they shoot up and then sputter out on the way back down?
I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of examples in the market of private equity buying up these brands, spinning them off, or stripping them down for parts. And it's just the natural life cycle of a company.
Yeah.
If you were talking about earlier, some companies shoot up to $20 million and they stay there forever and they can never push past that next level. Sometimes that's okay. Like sometimes it's just a $20 million business and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
What else can you do as a bolt-on, as a sister product, as another offering that's going to double, triple that revenue number?
Yeah. See, and that's what I want to do with this brand. It's apropos that we're talking about it because, I see this brand having the potential to be fragrances, to be handbags, to be in line. Like the idea of my mind is you see the person walking through the mall who's got the Gucci bag and the Louis Vuitton bag, the Coach bag. They have a Monopoly bag in their hand too. Like that's how I want to position this to be there. So it's not skincare, it's the rest of that. So for brands like us that are looking to expand, it's almost like don't put the cart before the horse, like make it first, right? Like find a way to build that community. That's the difficult part because when you see some of these like Dollar Shave Clubs or Allbirds, companies that started off direct to consumer and found a really niche way to just penetrate the market with brand awareness, you think, well, gee, if my CPG company is going to make it, I have to find like some marketing technique that gets me to do the exact same thing. I'm not saying give me the secrets and the code, but get me in the barbershop on that. If you were in my position as the investor in this company, what are a couple things that you would say, hey, these are no-brainers? If that's what you want to be big one day and we're willing to put in the time and effort on marketing and advertising, like what puts us into the conversation, the KPIs that we should be focused on if we even stand a shot of making it to be a multi-category brand?
I think it's getting your products in the hands of as many people as you possibly can, as quickly as you possibly can. If you're looking at dollars in, dollars out, what's your ROAS on ad spend? Is there an alternative way that you can get product out there, either at the same loss or at the same MER, marketing efficiency return? So some ideas that we could possibly think through or just strategize is, what if you offered everything for $1? And just said, we're doing a flash sale, 24 hours only. Type your email in, we'll send you a code, and that code is good for $1 worth of any product.
Yeah.
Then you're shipping out a ton of product to multiple people at $1 cost. That's your That's your cost of doing business. And you're hoping that the product is so good, they'll come back and purchase again.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I like strategies like that. Balancing that against the desire to do a Dior styled brand, right? Where you don't see them throwing up flash sales and all of that. Well, did they do one 80 years ago when that brand started? How do you balance getting yourself to a brand that you want to be luxury, but also knowing that if we're going to survive and even make it, we need people to try it and get it in their hands, maybe as cheap as possible?
Yeah, that might come down to partnerships. Maybe you are sponsoring events that is a red carpet event or a certain club, and you're saying, all right, this is Hakkasan on a Wednesday night. Everyone who attends, every female who attends is going to get a Monopoly bag, like a goodie bag to take home. That is your prime demographic, and it's going to be at cost to you. It might be a little bit of an investment to the club.
That's brilliant. Because the club is where this demographic is hanging out at, right? So if nothing else in this series here today, I now know we need to be marketing at every nightclub here in Las Vegas.
Every nightclub.
Dude, this is so cool. Like, honestly, I feel like I know you can add value to any brand, and the opportunity for us to share that with people who can take some of this stuff and apply it to their own businesses is super powerful. So thanks for coming and doing this. Like, I really appreciate it. It was fun for me. I got a lot of stuff from Monopoly, and we're going to have to do part 2 of this in the future. Episode 33 or 34 out in the future. So thanks for being here, Nick.
Love it. Yeah,
I appreciate
it.
Awesome.